Hello, everybody. How are you doing? I hope you enjoyed the week off we had for Martin Luther King and enjoyed yourself. So this is actually now set for, if I look at my trusty calendar, the 24th of January. Okay, so the 24th of January is our lesson today, and it's titled One World, Many Actors. All right, so third week. So without further ado, let me get to the material. All right, let me minimize myself here. Take me away, goodbye. All right, go to beginning of the slideshow. All right, there we go. So as you see in the bottom right-hand corner, it says week 3. Again, your class is Introduction to International Relations, if you have forgotten that, okay? So we're ready to go on week 3, this exciting class. All right, let's go. Okay, so like I said, this chapter is One World, Many Actors. And again, we've discussed this before about the state the first week, and then the people doing this being called actors. So this is not new material for us, okay? All right, the previous 2 chapters have set the foundations for understanding our world as one determined by centuries of warfare. And, you know, that's all over the world. Doesn't matter the country. Everybody's participated in it. At the same time, though, we have developed mechanisms for getting along via diplomacy. So ways of settling discussions and disputes without hopefully fighting and killing people. With that context in mind, we must turn to unpacking how international relations as an academic discipline analyzes our world. So unpacking is, we're not talking about boxes here. It's just a literary way of saying things. Okay, like opening it up, studying it. So international relations. So if I say IR from now on in the questions or the reading, it relates to international relations. So it's traditionally focused on interaction between states. Like I said, that was week 1. Hopefully by myself repeating this, they'll just stick with you and you'll just get an A in the test, no problem. Right? That's the goal. But however, this conventional view has been broadened, which means widened, the way we look at it, over the years to include relationships between all sorts of political entities. Polities. You're not going to have to remember that word, don't worry. Including international organizations, multinational corporations, societies, and citizens. Yes, sir, citizens, you and me. IR captures a vast array or menu of themes ranging from growing interconnectedness of people, mass media, internet, to old and new forms of security, dialogue, and conflict between visions, beliefs, and ideologies, or what we believe in, whether they're religious or non-religious, the environment, space, the global economy, poverty, and climate change. The sheer number of actors and issues that are relevant to IR can be overwhelming. Yes, sir. This can make it seem like a daunting is like difficult, looks really difficult, task or job to not just study various aspects of IR, but to try to grasp or understand the bigger picture. So that's done with the first page. So, I have a question here. So let's get to it. Get that pencil. Question 1. Oops. Yeah. Let me change the English wording here. Make it easier to understand. Getting funky. I'll tell you what, here we go. Like I told you, I'll just put IR. Okay, that looks good as a 2, so I won't touch it. So list some political entities, the ones I just talked about, that are included now in IR. So give me a list. Again, you list 1, you're not going to get as many points as a person that gets 2 or a person that gets 3. That's if I include this on the midterm. Okay, so go at it. Okay, I think you're doing pretty good on that. I know you have to make a list, but not too many, right? Most of the time, I don't want you to list all unless it's a short list, like all means 3 or 4. But if it's a list of like 5 or 6, 3, 4 is pretty good. Unless you're trying to get all those points. Okay, gonna go for the eraser now. Again, repeating, list some political entities that are included now in IR. All right, back to the material. We ended off here trying to grasp the bigger picture. Let's move on to the next page. Okay. All the more important are the analytical or study tools that scholars have developed in an attempt to make the field more manageable or understandable, not just for newcomers to the discipline, like let's say like us, but also for themselves, the veterans. Social scientists in general spend quite a lot of time thinking about effective ways of structuring their thinking and of processing the complexity of the reality they endeavor or try to study, analyze, and understand. A lot of this kind of analytical sense making in IR happens in the form of theories. Scholars use theories to explain and capture the meaning of real life events in the form of abstract interpretations and generalized assumptions. On the one hand, theories can be empirical, based on measurable experiences. Remember that. Usually, though, observation or experimentation is the method chosen. Empirical theories generally seek to try to explain the world as it is. On the other hand, theories can be normative, meaning that they build on principles and assumptions about how social interactions should occur. There's always, should. That doesn't mean that's how they happen. In other words, normative theories generally seek to present a version of world that ought to be. So we're kind of experiencing that right now in the United States and have been for the last, couple of years, where a lot of people are saying, no, this is how it should be, or that's not correct, and it should be like this, But, we have an old saying, shoulda, coulda, woulda, It doesn't explain that reality or how things really are, right? So you can choose which kind of method you want to use. So continuing, before scholars develop or adopt any specific theories, however, they take what is often a subconscious decision in selecting the focus of their analysis. Following this, they normally stick with their choice without reflecting very much on alternative approaches to the issue. And that's true what goes on now. People go crazy and demand something, and they don't think of the possibilities or what can happen with those kinds of decisions. They just demand something has to be done, and that's it. They don't realize that it could unbalance something, make something very difficult. So following this, they normally stick with their choice without reflecting very much on the alternative approaches to the issue. As students of IR, it can be helpful to equip ourselves, with a basic overview of the perspectives one can adopt when analyzing just about any topic. This chapter will do this by looking at different levels of analysis as one of the most common ways of structuring scholarly debates in IR. Okay. So I have a question now at the bottom of this page. And so, question 2. Oops, no spacing, bad boy. Check my wording on something. Okay. It's okay. Okay, I won't touch that one either. So, question 2, explain the two different theories. Talked about theories here that scholars use to explain real life events. So go at it. You at least got to do 2. All right. Again, the more definition you give each choice, just don't say, oh, it's this, and the other one is that. The more points you'll get. That's more on a volume instead of a list scale. The more you explain it, okay, each answer. You guys doing okay? Just trying to give you some time to put some volume on those two answers. All right, I guess I'll go for the ever trusty eraser. Repeating, explain the two different theories that scholars use to explain real life events. Okay, so change all, that's gone. Go back to the material. Whoops, I jumped ahead. I want to. So we finished with debates in IR. Now we're going to go to the actual levels of analysis. Getting a little hot in here, so you know what I do occasionally. Just turn on that aircon. Oh, I'm going to hear that sound. All right, it's not an airplane. Sorry, folks. So here we go. Levels of analysis. Thinking of different levels of analysis in IR means that the observer and analyst may choose to focus on the international system as a whole, the whole thing. Okay. Parts of the system in interaction with each other, so they can also do parts, or some of its parts in particular, they emphasize those areas. What forms the parts or components of the system is again a matter of perspective, no matter how the person thinks, the group thinks, the actor thinks, you know, or what they want to use. The international system can be conceived or thought of as being made up of states, group of states, organizations, societies, or individuals within and across those societies. IR generally distinguishes between three levels of analysis. Don't forget the three levels, right? That will probably pop up on the midterm, right? Hint to. So again, repeating, IR generally distinguishes between three levels of analysis: the system, 1, the state 2, and the individual 3. So try to put those together like that. But the group level is also important to consider as a fourth. Be careful. Might I throw that at you in the midterm? Who knows? Be ready for anything. To be able to use the level of analysis as an analytical device or mechanism, we need to be clear about what we are most interested in. We have to clarify for ourselves what is exactly what we want to look at when discussing a particular theme or issue concerning the international sphere, which is all over the world. Sphere, like if we used to have globes in our classrooms when I was growing up. I don't know if they still have them. If we were to study and understand the 2008 global financial crisis, for example, and its consequences for, like I said, for example, there would be various ways of approaching, discussing, and presenting the issue. To determine the level of analysis, we would need to determine what those levels are and ask ourselves some questions which we can explore below. All right, so at the end of this reading, I might have a question or two, but they'll probably be easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Okay, so let's go there. Okay, I'm gonna hit this one for a onesie. Easy. Easy. Okay. So, oh wow, look at this question. What did I just say? It could possibly show up. What are the 3 ways to focus on IR? So go ahead and answer that. So let's not have our funny guys. Oh, hot dogs, hamburgers, and pizza. Those are the 3 ways we can do it. No. Okay, you think you got a hold on that? All right, let me move on to question 4. Where's that arrow? Thank you. Here, don't get confused on this. The wording is different, so be careful. Oops. Bad machine. Oops. Let me change this. Maybe make a little better. English here. There we go. And I can make this a onesie too. There we go. So what are the three levels of IR analysis? First one, 3, was how do you focus on it? What is used to focus? And these are the actual analysis techniques. What are they? Okay. So go ahead. This will give you a clear understanding of the difference, help you on the midterm. All right, you think you got that? I hope so. All right. Eraser time. Let me mark off that I asked you these questions. All right. Where is that eraser? Repeating, what are the 3 ways to focus on IR? How? 4, what are the 3 levels of analysis? What are they? Okay. This is where we stop reading, which we can explore below. We're going to switch into how the level of analysis determines our findings. Following along pretty consecutively, pretty easy. Okay. Being aware of various possible perspectives helps us to develop an understanding of where we stand as analysts and observers. It also guides us through the process of investigation and analysis. First of all, the particular perspective we assume determines the kind of information we would need to gather or collect and look at in order to be able to answer our questions and draw meaningful conclusions, not just emotional not thought out conclusions. A system level, systematic study would need to consider global linkages that go beyond single interactions between states. It would need to look at such things as the balance of power between states and how that determines what happens in global politics. This could include developments that are even outside the immediate control of any particular state or group of states, such as the global economy, transnational terrorism, or the internet. Moving on. Again, that's done nice and smoothly. A state level study would require careful consideration of what kinds of states we are looking at, how they are ordered politically. There's all kinds of political systems in the world. Their geographical position or location, their historical ties with different countries for different reasons, and experiences and their economic standing. Are they in a recession right now? Are they very successful financially? You would likely also look at the foreign policy of states, meaning their approach to and practice of interacting with other states. Key indicators of the foreign policy of states would be the policies proposed and decided by governments, statements of top-level politicians, but also the role and behavior of diplomats and their adjoining bureaucratic structures, right? The ones that go with them. All right. Okay. Checking some things here. All right. A group level analysis would again need to try and break the analysis down into certain kinds of groups, how they relate to the state level, and where they position themselves with respect to the global dimension or size of the issues they are dealing with. An example of this can be seen in the work of Engelen et al. 2012, who discussed the global financial crisis as the misrule of experts. Oh dear. Pointing at the politicized role of technocratic circles and the relative lack of democratic control over the boards of large banks and corporations. A group level analysis focusing on foreign policy would look, for example, at the role of lobbying groups and the way they influence national decision-making on an issue. Okay, so we had a long reading there, so you know what has to be involved, my friends. The questions, yes, the questions. We have to know what's going on with the questions. Whiteboard, pencil, and we're off to question 5. Oh, sorry. Let me reword this. I got to make it easier for you. Again, you can send your donations to my email. Large bills only. Okay, that looks good as a 2, so I'll leave it as a 2. What would a system level analysis need to look at? So please let me know what they need to look at on that level. Okay, go ahead. Okay, think you got that? Want me to go on to question 6? Think that's a good move? All right, let's give that a go. Question 6. This is going to be a 2-parter, so pay attention. I give you these to practice for the midterm. It's going to take a little longer to answer. Oops, bad English spelling. Oh. Okay, let me see if I can make this a 2Z. Yes, sir. Okay. What would a state level study and a group level study need to do? So this is similar to the number 5 question. Explain what would they need to do? What would they need to look at? Okay, so go ahead. Not again. It's going to take longer than the number 5 question, so take your time. All right, stay at it, stay on top of it. These questions will probably pop up on the midterm. All right, you're making headway on that? Think so? Okay, it looks like it might be time for me to go for that eraser. Okay, like I said, eraser time. Repeating 5, what would a system level analysis need to look at? So you just list the things it needs to look at. Okay? That's out. 6, what would a state level study? Remember, there's different levels, and a group. I told you I might talk a little bit about group or demand that you know a little. Okay, and that's out. We finished the reading here on issue. I'm going to mark off that I asked you questions 5 and 6. Make sure my paper copy matches up with the computer. Okay, looks good. There we go. We're going to go into contemporary issues. All right. Radio, as they say. Okay. Contemporary IR is interested in looking at actors that operate across state borders instead of specifically confined by them. Whereas you remember before, we're strictly talking about countries and the states within the countries, that's all you represented. But now we're looking towards actors that can cross over, as they say, like they do in the music business. For instance, now we're going to tell you exactly what they're talking about or what kind of people. Citizens of a particular state or proponents of a particular ethnic or cultural minority within that state. The study of IR has gradually widened to include all kinds of interactions between a variety of actors, including the general public and individual members of it. People like you and me. Wow, is that possible? You and me? Unbelievable. Even Temujin, right? Hey, Temujin, dangerous guy, can I say? Or Phil Cho, or Mr. Hong. Such an analytical move seems welcome if we think of how potent, which means how strong or powerful, the influence of individual actors can be that do not officially represent or act on behalf of states or any of their constituent parts or important parts. An example of this is the activist Julian Assange. I don't know if he's still in Ecuador, living in the embassy, who spearheaded or fronted a widely publicized whistleblowing. Whistleblowing is when you start telling the secrets about someone or a company or an organization. Campaign leaking, just like when water leaks through your ceiling, he's leaking information to the public and the press, leaking government secrets via the website WikiLeaks. Another example is Osama bin Laden, who built a global terrorist network, Al-Qaeda, based on his own religious and political visions. Both Assange and bin Laden, interesting stuff here, although very different in nature, have had lasting impact on top-level global politics from the position of a private persona with no official political status or role. What is significant in this context is that the traditional conception of the state as the main framework of political interaction and the main point of reference for both society and the individuals within it, it has lost a lot of its meaning and importance, and this is true. If we look at the world around us, state borders do not seem to accurately delineate global affairs. The majority of global interactions, be they related to global finance, production, education, personal and professional travel, labor migration, or terrorism, no longer occur via state channels the way they once did. Like I said, or like they said here with the Al Qaeda, international Muslims, radical Muslims all over the world, right? Or Assange giving information to the whole world via WikiLeaks. We could say that the increased focus on non-state actors and cross-border issues has marked a close to revolutionary turn in IR, something that could not be interpreted or understood as a shift away from the international between states to the transnational across border states and their borders. Okay. All right, so looks like I got some more questions. You know, you love the questions, folks. I love the questions. Oh, that whiteboard, the lovely, clean whiteboard, until I put questions up there. Question 7. Okay, let me do a little touch up on this one. I don't think I can make it a onesie, but I can touch it up. Could I make it a long onesie? Let me see. Uh-oh. All right. Yay. Contemporary IR is interested in looking at what? So that answer won't be too long, but go ahead, go at it. Hey, you think you got a hold on that? Again, repeating, contemporary IR is interested in looking at what specifically? So I'll move on to question 8. This is going to be a little bit longer, not too much longer. Just give me a thorough answer. Oops. Spacing. Okay. I can also possibly make this a long onesie. Yay. Boy, need some more donations. Okay, what has marked a close to revolutionary turn in IR? Okay, so like I said, this one will be a little bit longer than this one. This one's probably pretty short. Just make sure this is a little thorough, okay? Go at it. You doing okay on that? Okay. Guess I'll be going for the eraser again. Okay. Whoops. Steaky poo. Okay. Getting slappy. Here we go. Contemporary IR is interested in looking at what specifically? Narrow it down. 8, what has marked a close to revolutionary turn in IR? All right. Back to the reading. We finished off here at their borders. Match my papers. Okay. Continuing, individuals and groups interact across borders and thus relativize the meaning of space and territory as conventional IR knew it before, right? Conventional was the old way, the traditional way. International commercial aviation and rapid spread of information technologies, internet, has further increased people's mobility and the rate at which interactions occur across and beyond state borders. The ability for common people to store, transfer, and distribute large amounts of information, possibility for data to travel across the world in virtually no time, and the increasing availability of high-speed internet have not only changed lives at personal and community levels, but dramatically altered or changed the general dynamics in politics and global affairs. Okay, so what I'm going to do here, because I've already asked you a question, right? And double checking again. Let me double check here. Yes, just asked you 7 and 8. So I'm going to ask you a quick 9 here, and then we'll do a little longer reading, and then we'll get the last question. So we're getting close to the end, right? Okay. And 2, question 9. Oh boy, that's some really great spelling. How did I accomplish that? These machines are touchy. Okay, I'm gonna try to make this a twosie. I've been lucky with the last couple of onesies. See what I can do, fill in space. That looks pretty good. Okay. List some ways that individuals and groups interact across borders. I think I just give you a nice big list there, so you should be able to do that, okay? So go at it. Okay, make yourself a nice list there, please. Remember, this is question 9. Do a little more reading and then one last question and we're done. So get excited. All right, I'm gonna go for the eraser. Repeating 9, list some ways that individuals and groups interact across borders. Okay. All right, back for the last reading of this week. We ended on here with global affairs. We go to social media. Social media provide accessible platforms of communication that allow for the projection and promotion of ideas across borders at virtually no cost to the individual or group generating and advocating them. Various political agendas, be they progressive, revolutionary, or outright dangerous, again, we're talking about terrorism, progressive, maybe Assange, can unfold in a relatively uncontrolled and unregulated way, posing real challenges to governmental agencies and the political leaders that try to improve and direct them. Random individuals can potentially start a revolution from their homes. Think about that for a second, right? Bypassing or going through or going over any conventional conceptions of power and transcending spatial and material boundaries to the point where political activity and even confrontation become weightless and immaterial altogether because you're not face to face doing something with the potential of fighting, violence. A powerful illustration of this can be found in Thomas Neuwirth, an Austrian singer who is most commonly known as the stage persona Conchita Wurst. The political messages displayed during a show at the Sydney Opera House in March 2016 multiplied and spread through social media. This eventually urged various representatives of the Australian government to take a stance on gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transgender LGBT, now it's LGBTQ, I think, issues, and also gave momentum to the global LGBT movement. A national politician from, say, Austria would likely not have been able to influence the domestic debate in Australia to that extent, let alone speak a worldwide debate that way. But multimedia now allows individuals to do that, even if they have no real political power. So last part of the reading, folks, yay, IR and you. It's our conclusion, as we usually have one in this book. Very nice. This chapter has introduced you to the ideal of levels of analysis, an analytical device, okay, that makes the variety of issues in IR more manageable and structured, easier for you to understand. More specifically, we distinguished between the system level, the state level, and the group and individual level, highlighting differences as well as connections between them. We have shown that the academic discipline of IR has gradually moved away from a dominant focus on the state and the system to deal more with the role and perspective of groups and individuals. As you are reading this book, it should be an inspirational thought that never in the history of humanity has it been easier for individuals like you to become directly involved in the practice of international relations, or should we say transnational relations. As an individual, you are not just a passive person without action or ability to act, subject of international relations, as directed by political elites and official state actors. You have the means of being an actor in your own right. Isn't that exciting? Or at least at the very least, being counted as more scholars focused beyond the narrow confines or limitations of the state level analysis. So that is the reading for this week. Now I have one last question for you, since I normally ask you 10 questions. That pencil. Now, question for this week, question 10. That looks good as a 2. I won't touch it. Finishing the academic discipline. Oh, that should be of, not or. Can I get in there? Yay. Good machine. All right. The academic discipline of IR gradually moved from what? It used to be one way traditionally, and now it's moved to what? Just answer that for me, please. Okay, you think you got that? The transition from the traditional way to the modern way. Okay. Eraser. That's done. Let me stop share. There I am. Hello. So we've done for today. Yeah. Ask you question 10. So good luck to you. And I will see you next week with the next chapter. All right. Have a good day.